Right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Unscripted. I'm your host and producer, as always, Logan Landers. And joining me for our close to home segment, of course, our stat guy, Dustin Reese. What's going on, Dustin?
No, just wonderful. At least the Raiders beat the Packers. But outside of that, just wonderful.
Well, I'm glad to hear, my friend. And down below him are hopped up on sugar, Jay McLovin. What's up, Jay?
Yes, after about 6 bags of candy for self-medicating from the Astros loss and the Cowboys loss and the Texas loss, I'm doing what I got to do. But I will say this. The only thing, if there was a bright, shining spot in all of this, the only one is that, thank God, Jonathan Mathis Dodgers are down 0-2, and that makes me happy.
And we will get into all of Jay's woes as well as baseball, football, all of our teams in just a second. First off, if you want to check us out on social media, you can do so very easily at Unscripted on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and on Twitch. Easiest way to find all those in our link tree. It's at the description of all of our episodes. Just go there, click it, and you'll see all of the above social media apps there for you. At a touch of a button, and you can go and give us a follow over there. All right, well, we mentioned what we're talking about today, so let's get into it. All right, y'all, close to home. Here we are. Dustin, I'll let you start things off. Go ahead and talk about how your week's been for your teams.
Well, we'll start with the NFL, and it's amazing how much difference a year can make for a team that basically has the same exact roster that they had last year. Minnesota was 11-0 in one-score games last season and went 13-4 overall. All the breaks were going their way. They were making the plays they needed to make, which is why they had the record they had. Fast forward to this season, they are 1-4 in one-score games, and they already have as many turnovers this season through 5 games than they had the entire 17 games last year. They continue to struggle holding on to the football. Granted, they only had 1 turnover against the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday, but that turnover happened to be the second play of the game, which was inside their own 30-yard line, which resulted in a Kansas City touchdown shortly after. And what was the final score? 27-20. Basically, that fumble is what was the difference in the game, and that's kind of been the common theme for Minnesota since the season started. To make matters worse, Justin Jefferson suffered his first significant injury in his 4-year NFL career and is now going to miss the next 4 to 5 weeks. Looking at what Minnesota's schedule looks like coming up, yes, there are probably 2, maybe 3 winnable games on that schedule, but we have not seen what this team looks like without Justin Jefferson. And I'm not going to be shocked at all to see Minnesota sitting at 2-7. Or even 1-8 after these next 4 games with his absence. And at that point, there is no reason to keep Kirk Cousins anymore at that point. You know what he's scheduled to make next year. You know you're not going to keep him at a $45 to $50 million price tag next season. And given that he's going to be 36 years old, you know he wants a chance to go to a possible playoff contending team to have another shot at the playoffs. You look at teams that are going to be looking for a quarterback at that point. The New York Jets do come to mind, and that's only if the Jets can remain in playoff contention. If the Jets remain in playoff contention, trading for Kirk Cousins makes a lot of sense because if Aaron Rodgers comes back next season, you're not tied to Kirk Cousins long term. You get basically a 8-9 week rental this year in Kirk Cousins, which is a better option than Zach Wilson at this point. And with that defense, Cousins can get the Jets to the playoffs and potentially put together a decent run, and then you go from there. The Denver Broncos may be out of the playoff picture at this point, but Kirk Cousins to Denver has been something that's been talked about for the last couple of years too, mainly because George Patton, who's over in Denver, was in Minnesota when the Vikings acquired Kirk Cousins. The biggest problem there is if Cousins goes to Denver, you're looking at Russell Wilson having to come to Minnesota, and I'm not sure I'm ready to take that contract on at this point, especially when you see how Russell Wilson's played the last 2 years in Denver. So at this point, I'm pretty much all for not tanking, but I'm pretty much gearing up for the fact that Minnesota is going to move on from Cousins one way or another, drafting a younger quarterback in the NFL draft next season and going from there and just trying to build around Hawkinson, Jefferson, Addison, and some of those offensive weapons. Moving to baseball, which I don't have a horse in the race anymore, but I want to talk about the Major League Baseball basically getting rid of these first-round buys. Houston, Atlanta are tied 1-1, but they're very lucky to be tied 1-1. Dodgers and Baltimore are down 0-2. All four of those teams have one thing in common. They had a first-round bye, which basically means they had 7 to 8 days off between that last game of the regular season and the first game they played in the playoffs, and it's shown that having that 8 days off does not do these teams as well as you think it does. I've been on the fence about baseball expanding the playoff field, but when you have a 162-game season, which is more games than the NBA, which is more games than the NFL, and more games than the NHL, and yet you only allow 6 playoff teams, which is the fewest playoff teams of all the professional sports, it doesn't make sense to me. You're playing the most games of anybody. You should, at worst, have the same amount of playoff teams as these other leagues. So I think baseball needs to basically say no more first-round buys. We're going to do 8 playoff teams in each division. National League gets 8. American League gets 8. You eliminate these first-round buys. And if you do that, you're extending the season by maybe 2 days. And that's only because the wild card round would be a best of 3. And if there's a couple teams that force that game 3, you're extending the wild card round by 2 days. It's not like you're extending the season by 2 weeks. It's not like you're extending the season by 3 weeks. It'd be by 2 days. And I think if you get rid of these first round buys and you have everybody play basically 2 days after the regular season starts, you're going to have the best teams making it to the World Series. And ultimately, that's what baseball wants. That's what a lot of casual baseball fans want. They want the best teams in the World Series. Granted, the playoffs have been exciting so far. No one's going to say they haven't been, especially with teams like Arizona and Texas doing what they've done. But if the Dodgers, Braves, and Orioles are all eliminated before this championship round starts, what did the playoffs really accomplish? Because the three best teams in baseball aren't even going to get to say they made it past the division round. And that's just kind of my thoughts on that.
All right, good thoughts there, Jay. Do you want me to go so we can save you for last? Because I know you have a lot of thoughts.
How you want to do? How you want to do?
I'll make mine quick. I have no words about how the Braves played last night. I mean, we were no hit for about 6 innings. But we talked about it last year, Jay, on Unscripted with Thompson, the manager for the Phillies, and just his lack of experience. You know what he did last night, Jay? He left Zach Wheeler in there an inning too long. Something that Red Sox fans knew all too well back in the day with Pedro Martinez. Yeah, left him in there too long. There's no doubt he was phenomenal. He pitched a great game up until the 6th inning, and then it just all came unglued. A team who was shut out in game 1, I was surprised by that. They were looking on the verge of being shut out again and potentially no hit. And I don't know how it would have reacted if that would happen, but thank God it didn't. The bats were awoken towards the end of the game. And the play that was made to end the game is going to be played in highlights for, Braves fans for many, many years to come. What a phenomenal double play that was with Harris and Riley. Just absolutely insane. But like I said, moving on to Philly now for 2 games. where we can win the series if we win back-to-back. So we'll see what happens. But, man, I mean, this is obviously going to be a tough series. We knew this coming in, obviously, with last year. And now we get to go on the road, and we get to see Philly Sports Guy and see what he's all about. And I'm looking forward to it, though. That game's going to be tomorrow, so off today at the time we're filming this. As for the Raiders, me and Dustin were talking a little bit before the show. Hey, they won. They won. They did indeed win. Defense played a huge factor in that. I mean, they got to Jordan Love, sacked him a couple times. Got, I believe, two sacks and 3 interceptions, and including the ones who sealed the game at the end there. So something that the Raiders haven't had in a couple of years, and that's a really good defensive performance. But hey, win's a win. Moving on, still below 500, but season is still young. Glad to see the win there. And yeah, so just overall, really good night last night for me, being a Braves and Raiders fan. And hopefully it can continue throughout the rest of the week. Jay McLovin, I know you have a lot of thoughts about your Cowboys and your Houston Astros as well as Texas. Just a rough few days for you, my friend. Why don't you let your frustrations out?
Yeah, first and foremost, before I get into Astros, I'm going to use that to lead it off. I just want to say I'm so happy that you actually got your series between you and Philadelphia to 1-1. It is no secret. It is no weirdness that everybody knows that I hate Philadelphia. I hate everything Philadelphia. And I specifically hate turning on Facebook and seeing Philly Sports Guy all over this thing doing his little happy dance. I would do nothing better than to see his ass get kicked out of the playoffs and have to eat some humble pie, and I could have some peace and quiet on Facebook. That's all I'm saying. I hate 3 teams in baseball. I hate the LA Dodgers because I hate Jonathan Mathis all over Facebook. I hate the Philadelphia Eagles because of Philly Sports Guy all over Facebook. And I specifically hate the Yankees because then I got to listen to Frankie the Yankee and his craziness. So, Logan, by all means, please, for the love of God, beat the Philadelphia Phillies. Anyway, as I regress, Astros, man, we came out game 1. Verlander just set the tone early. He gave you 6 scoreless innings. Got, 6, I think, was strikeouts, a couple of walks. I think he allowed four hits, but no runs. Just set the tone early. And then on the offensive side of it, Altuve comes up, first pitch, first at bat, bam, baby, all the way over the fence. Astros up 1-0. We come back in the second inning. We go up 3-0. And I just knew right then and there, I said, okay, we are literally clicking on all cylinders. All cylinders. But, Carlos Correa knows the Houston Astros. He knows everything about them. He knows every single thing they're going to do. And that was our worst. That's like our kryptonite. Carlos Correa kind of is our kryptonite because he just knows the team so well. And he can dictate to those hitters coming up to the plate, hey, you should probably look for this. Hey, you should probably look for this. Because he knows how Framber Valdez hits. Or pitches. He knows how Verlander pitches. So this is not new to him. So I know he's getting those dudes ready to look for this. And they sure did. Game 1, again, they almost came back in the 4th inning. Or it was the 6th inning, I believe. No, 7th inning. I think it was 7th inning. It was 7th inning. They got 4 runs. And I literally thought we were going to lose it right there. Because at that point, I think it was 5-4. And then, of course, they made it. I think it was Alvarez or somebody made it at 6-4. And then we took it to the end of the house. So it was very close towards the end of that game. And, of course, it was all led by Carlos Correa. Lord Jesus. And then we come to game 2, and we lose it 6-2. And Framber goes out there. And like I said, I always know by the first inning whether or not this is going to be a good game or this is going to be an okay game or this is like, oh, damn, here we go. And game 1 was, yep, it's a good game. I fully see this win. Game 2 was, oh, shit. Pardon my French. I apologize for the curse. Oh, crap. Because Valdez goes up there. You knew he wouldn't have command of his pitches. He does this all the time. Him and Javier, for whatever reason, that first inning, it's like they're like an old diesel engine. It takes them about inning 2 or inning 3 before they really settle into who they are and get their command going the way it needs to go. And you saw it in inning number 1. I kid you not. Valdez came out. They go down 1-0. And then 2 comes out. They go down 3-0. I'm like, oh, here we go. And the Astros are leaving men on base. We're getting hits, but we're leaving men on base. We're not getting them in. I'm like, yep, here we go. Same old. All season long, this is the way it's been. Up, down, up, down, up, down. All season long. And this series is no different. I just only hope the fact that we are a better away team than we are at home team, and the fact that we at least split the home series, Now we're going to their side of the world, where I think we will play better. We go up against Gray. He's a tough pitcher. Got an ERA under 3. I think Javier's got an ERA around 3.56. So, Javier, listen, the key to this game is, guy, don't give up runs in the first or second innings. Because when you do that, it's almost like it crushes the soul of the offense, and it just sets a bad tone. Astros, I said this a million times, and Logan, Dustin, you heard me several times on this segment say, Astros, you got to become a hungry dinosaur. You got to be a shark. You got to be a tiger. You got to have that hungerness, and you still have not fully embraced the hungerness that you got to have to be a repeat World Series champion, which is not an easy feat to do. This Twins team ain't that great. They're all right. They're not great. You're a way better team than them when you want to be. That's the key, when you want to be. So, again, I will tell you this. The one thing that I just love about this Astros team is Alvarez. That dude is a beast. Everybody knows when Alvarez is in the biggest stage, he hits the biggest games. Now, listen, he hit 2 home runs and 3 RBIs in game 1. And then in game 2, he had another home run. He's got, 3 home runs right now and 2 games in the World Series. The dude is just a beast, man. Matter of fact, the only 2 runs we got last night was because of Alvarez. So Alvarez can't be the only one. Brantley, Bregman, Altuve, continue to do Altuve-like things. Altuve is still okay. But Bregman, Abreu, right? Tucker. Let's go, man. We are better than this damn team, man. So anyway, tonight we get Javier, like I said, versus Gray at 3:07 Central Standard Time. Javier, you got to do what you got to do, man. You got to come out. You got to give us everything you got, man. We can't be playing like the way we've been playing. To win this game, like I said, they need to find that hunger. They need to find that sense of urgency in them if they want to do something big. So we will be waiting to see where that goes. The Dallas Cowboys, I got a very small segment on this, Logan. I'm going to wrap this up with this. Dak Prescott is not the answer, number 1. Number 2, Jerry Jones. Stop thinking that Dak Prescott's going to get you to the Super Bowl. And number 3, that San Francisco defense lit us up like a champ because we only have 57 yards rushing. Dak Prescott had 3 interceptions, 1 pick. And anytime your starter gets pulled and your backup comes in, it's only a good thing when your team is up and destroying the opposition. When the Cooper Rush is coming in because we're getting our asses beat so damn bad that we're already on the bus before we know we're on the bus, that's never a good thing. Just let's let that sink in for a minute. What a time to be alive. Cowboys, you are who I thought you were. And that's why I'm not getting on your bandwagon.
Man. Dustin, I know you sent us something in the private chat if you want to let the world know what's going on.
Since I'm a big baseball fan, I follow baseball pretty much globally at this point. But 17-year-old Japanese phenom Rintaro Sasaki has declined his $30 million NPB entry-level contract and has decided to come stateside to play college baseball. Should be the top pick in the 2025 draft. He is a 6'2", 250-pound 17-year-old that hit a .413 in high school and had 140 home runs in his 4 years in high school, including 39 as a senior last year.
Not missing any meals. My God, 6'5", 250 at 17?
6'2", 250 at 17.
6'2", yeah. Jeez. Like I said, 413 in high school and a monster amount of home runs. It's going to be fun to see. Dustin, any idea where he might go to college?
He's got 5 choices, UCLA, Stanford, Arizona, Ole Miss, and Alabama.
Okay. Interesting to see. We'll definitely be on the watch out and see where this young man goes. And it's going to be fun to see. Well, hey, guys, appreciate you coming on, talking about your teams. Jay McLovin, Dustin Reese, always a pleasure, my friends. I've been your host, producer, Logan Landers. Once again, check us out on social media for all the updates on all sports content and whatnot. Like I said, enjoy the rest of your nights, everyone. We'll talk to you again on another live episode.